Hello, my good friends. How are you today? I'm excited to be here. The good Mr. Tipo and I are in the studio, and we're going to spend first few minutes to check the technicals. I would like to also apologize for the time we're starting. That's totally on me and my schedule today. We had a few transportation delays and technical glitches. So please bear with us while we check across the platforms that you can see us. And by the way, please give us a shout out. Say hi on any of the platforms if you can see us. Just say hi on any of the platforms if you can see us. Just say hi on any of the platforms if you can see us. All right. We're very excited to be here with you in a few minutes. Yes, we're live on LinkedIn, and I'll just send that link to Mr. Tipo. I'm sure he wants to share that if he's in what. What's your email address, sir?
It's tipo@gmail.com.
Okay, all right. Stream link on LinkedIn. Yeah. Forwarded that to you. Let me check Facebook. Yes, we're live on Facebook. I can confirm.
All right, beautiful.
In fact, I think I need to use the Streamlink chat. There's a chat feature somewhere here. Yeah, I can use that to reach you for Facebook. And then I'll look for Instagram shortly. Our dear viewers, we appreciate you and your timing. We just want to get all these technicals out of the way. And until we go live, we can't share the links. Uh, so I need to go from Facebook so that I'll just take that off from Facebook so I don't. It's giving me echoes back here. Then YouTube is the next one, and the X. Are you on X? Okay, you mentioned you're not, sir. Sorry, I remember you told me you are not. X is for those
No.
who are stronger than you.
And I yield to
Yeah,
them.
uh, X is for people that I don't want to call their name on the air. I'm prosecuted for defamation of your character. I'm before far all of those guys. Remarkable gentlemen. Okay, I think. hmm, Okay, I think we can. While you're speaking, I will be sending the broadcast out about all of this, so we can have a good head start. Okay, I can see people coming up across the different platforms. Thank you, Mr. Depot, for coming in this evening. I'm excited to have you. And the context of the conversation this evening is outstanding success or achievement, and there's an inspiration behind the conversation ab initio. Okay, I see us on X too, so I'm going to fetch that link quickly and also share that with you. Peradventure, you have people in that community who are your great fans. Only the faint-hearted is not allowed on this
At
platform.
all.
Doesn't matter who you are. Yeah. The other day, the president got dragged on the platform. I was forced to laugh at an elderly person. The strength of the stress, the strength of the stress evoked laughter. And I remember telling a friend of mine that don't dare X people. Don't even go near them. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dippo, for deciding to meet us for this wonderful session. And I got your profile here with me. And again, to our viewers, welcome. It is the science of outstanding, the neuroscience, actually, not just the science, it's the neuroscience of outstanding achievement. I am totally excited to be here with you. All right. Oladipo Adeshida is an astute marketing communications professional with 19 years experience as a writer, brand strategist, creative director, and TV/radio presenter. He's currently the chief operating officer at Verdant Zil Group, a leading advertising agency operating in West Africa and across the globe, with business concerns across the globe. He has led several marketing communications campaigns across industries in the private sector, such as telecommunications, financial services, oil and gas, hospitality, aviation, fast moving consumer goods, FMCG, conglomerates, insurance, agriculture, technology, e commerce, and more. He's worked on several public sector projects across federal, state, and local governments, which include partnerships with multilateral agencies such as UNICEF, USAID, DFID, AU, ECOWAS, the AFDB, and others. Oladipo, Mr. Dipo, popularly called, fondly called, sorry, Oladipo, popularly called Mr. Dipo, holds, or Mr. D, holds a first degree in dramatic arts from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, a diploma in filmmaking from New York Academy, a certificate in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, the United Kingdom, is an alumnus of the British Council, the University of Glamorgan, that is now University of South Wales Centre for Creative Enterprise Development. He's an associate member of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, ACON, and one of the 500 young Africans to meet President Barack Obama as Mandela Washington Fellows. Ladipo Adeshida is a citizens diplomat with the Northern Nevada International Center, Reno, Nevada, United States, and elite African mentor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me astute gentleman, quintessential gentleman, a great lover of God and humanity, one who I've had the rare privilege of sitting down to share bread with, uh, Mr. Oladipo Adeshida, Mr. Adeshida, popularly called Mr. D or Dipo, because he likes simplicity, is one of those people you meet and he leaves you with a presence. His humility is wonderful, um, with no air, no, no arrogance, calm demeanor always, yet very effective at what he does. I am so excited today to be in the studio and to share with you guys some of the strongest nuggets I think will change the trajectory of someone's life. I was in a room. Yes, Mr. Dipo, say hi to our viewers.
Good evening, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you very much, Dr. Abodere, for having me. You can call me Dipo. Like you said, I prefer the simplicity. For those who are in the inner caucus, they call me Sir Dips. So Dipo is fine. Dipo is fine. So thank you very much for
All
having me.
right. Welcome, Sadips. A quick caveat because I'm expecting a few persons to come into the house at some point in the course of the presentation. I probably will, my video might go off right when you're discussing, just for a few seconds while I try to access the door to grant access into the house. So please, I'm excited to be here with us again today. Um, I met Mr. Deepo a while back, and he struck me as a strong professional, one who knew what he wanted from life. We had very interesting conversations on some projects. We worked closely, and in all of those interactions, I saw a very thoroughbred professional. I saw a leader. I saw someone who wanted success despite any negative odds. It made quite an impression on me. And so a few weeks ago, I was in Lagos, Nigeria, generally first to see my dad and then settle a few things in Lagos. And then I paid him a courtesy visit in his office, and after seeing the chairman, I went to say hi to him that, brother man, your brother is in town, and we had a good fun time of fellowship and all of that. Then about lunch. Um, and then for the first time, I noticed, uh, quite interestingly, that um, he had a few slight mobility movements. So, in my own mind, I totally thought because every time I interacted with him, the strength of the interaction, the quality of the conversation, um, did not give me any inkling anything could be going on. Now, I'm saying that because after that interaction was an eureka moment for me. I was humbled and grateful very deeply on his behalf. That's because he has surmounted difficult odds. I would not lie to you. By the way, I can see 5 people online. Wherever you are reaching out to us from, please do me a big favor and say hi. Please don't consider my bad character. Apologies again for starting this late. Please, wherever you're calling us from, wherever you're watching us from, just say a nice hi. I will really appreciate some interaction. So I saw Mr. Depot, and I found that there was just a little mobility issue. So in my own mind, it will appear like it's a recent thing. That's the strength of the conversation before that day was like something just happened because there was just a mental image, and that's a bias on my side. And I totally take responsibility for that bias. How does someone who will be interacting so deeply and profoundly be so much at peace with a condition like this? It was a very strong revelatory moment for me. And so I was forced to say, "Hey, how are you, sir? Sorry about this and all of that." Then he looked at me and said, "No, from the way you're talking, it means we've not met physically." I said, "Yeah." "Oh," said, "it's been a while back." I said, A while back, how?" And then he proceeded to tell me the story. And the process, he said, "Make no mistake, there is nothing fragile, nothing regretful, only a lot of gratitude and tons of resilience you're looking at here. I mean, I said, don't, you can't tell me that. And we began the conversation. Look, after about 10 minutes, it was apparently clear I will not be the only person to hear this story. Um, I was humbled because I was introduced to my bias. You see, the humility of learning is to know when you are being corrected, a moment of your ignorance. We all have blind spots in life. But the moment you hit one of those blind spots, you're introduced by a new experience to one of those blind spots in your life. The genius of existence is to calm down and acknowledge and be grateful that you could learn. I was grateful that, oh, this means that I had a bias, that once there's a problem, there's a look and feel, there's a self pity psyche, that it's arrogance on my side to think that I know how it feels, or anytime I see someone like that, I will, from a video interaction or voice interaction, depict a defeatist mentality or attitude. I was introduced to my frailty. So wow, I was driving back home from that experience to the hotel where I was at, and I kept on just worshiping God. And I'm sorry because my predominant persuasion is from the life of Christ, and so I was worshiping God, and I was humbled over and over, saying, Lord, I thank you for giving me the wisdom of learning. The Bible says, when you found knowledge, the wisdom. So when you found wisdom, knowledge is precious to your soul. So I thank you, Lord, because I have found wisdom and I could acknowledge that this is a moment that requires a note in life. Those that don't take notes cannot be reference points. If you cannot take note of a moment in destiny or an occurrence that is different, until Moses saw the burning bush, only then could God speak to him, and then he paid attention. So it's a moment to pay attention. Once I noticed that it's a moment to pay attention, I had no choice than to say, Miss Deepo, please let's set a date in the future where we can listen to your story. And we're going to listen to Mr. Deepo's story. I'm going to be out of your way in just a few more minutes. All protocols observed. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Let me tell you a few things. There is a whole body of knowledge, and that's what made me recognize the moment. It is knowledge that makes you know that there's gap in your understanding. And I have experienced heavily the intelligence of the universe in terms of the mind. The mind is very powerful, and there's almost nothing you cannot do with your mind. There is a whole body of knowledge that has linked biology to psychology. The mind and the body are one. That whatever the mind decides to do, the body follows. That people die or live from the mind. That your biology and your cells generally begin to move in the direction of your dominant thoughts, feelings, emotions, and imaginations. Let me say that again. Your biology moves in the direction of your dominant thought, feelings, emotions, and imaginations. I was looking for scriptural proof when I came against this body of knowledge, and I saw Jesus where he said, I do not, nobody takes my life from me. I lay down by myself. And Jesus said, Father, into your hand I commit my spirit. After he had said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. So it means and with a loud voice, he gave up. And medical science, medical doctors agree that people don't die until they give up in their minds. That once their souls give up, their bodies follow. It doesn't matter the size of the sickness as long as the mind refuses to give up, the body does not die. So death is a choice, especially in disease conditions. This is established science, established fact in science. That if you have willingness to live, then the doctors have a fighting chance. That when there is no willingness to live, then the doctors cannot fight much. That medicine and the entire science of medicine today sits upon the arbiter that the soul, the realm of your will, intellect, and emotions, drives biological recovery. And there are people like Dr. Caroline Leaf and many other scientists, especially in the medical regimes, who believe what I'm saying by empirical proof in the laboratory that all of human existence is predicated on organized thoughts and consciousness and awareness. And that's why we're the supreme commanders of the animal kingdom or Homo sapiens. It's because we have strong will power that is far more conscious than other beings lower on the ladder. And the civilization also follows that the supremacy between the monkeys and us, why we are more supreme or we are higher than the monkeys, is because we have more will, emotion, and intellect. That on the scale, the powers of our cognition is far stronger and deeper. Yep. So, Mr. Deepo is a story. Thank you, Festus Ephraim. Good to have you here. Please let me post this in the group first, by the way. Shout out to you and let me share across social media and tell all the people in the groups to please log in now. Mr. Depot will speak in 1 minute. So, Mr. Depot is a story of resilience. Is an embodiment of the principle of conscious, deliberate choice, especially in the midst of in the face of strong misfortune. Mr. Depot has succeeded to prove again that neuroscience element that at the base of your neurology is the eventuality of what will happen after an accident. That you choose whether you want to remain lying down, accepting it, and accepting pity party, or you want to come out and be the best that you can be. He said to me something. He said, uh, look, make no mistake, the only thing that's frail about me is this physical thing you are looking at. He said, on the other front, I'm as hard can be. There is no reduction in force in any of my functions. He said, I swim, I drive, I do everything well. Now, when he said that, because strength is a thing of the mind, not of the body, this is the mind and the body are one. I have studied neuro linguistic programming so deeply. I'm aware that the best of athletes and the best of successful men and women all over the world use the psychoneurology of success, which means your neurons, your internal muscles respond in the direction of your dominant desires. That if your desires become stronger, then your performance becomes stronger. That if your desire becomes stronger, the force that comes out of your hand is harder. Let's say you're punching something. If you strengthen your anger level, your punch will become stronger. That the strength is not denominated in the action, but in the mind. That strength is not denominated in the action, but in the mind. That the outcomes you have are a direct function of your mind and not any physical existence around you. I will now commend you to Mr. Depot, and please get your pen because you're about to be wow. The kind of lessons you're about to see will change your configuration. Trust me. My job is just to tease out the answers. At some point, I'll pause Mr. Depot as he's dropping the nuggets and narrating his story. I will ask him some deeper questions and probes. And we deliberately have not scripted this conversation because I want it to come out as natural as possible because I want the moments to show themselves, and I want we both. I am a facilitator. Mr. Dikpo is a facilitator between us and the future we desire. And that lesson will come out naturally. So, Mr. Dikpo, Over to you. May we meet you very briefly, your family story, what was your background like, and all of that. God bless you. Welcome. And our viewers, sorry I spoke for a little bit longer. Mr. D, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Aboduri, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who may be watching, listening, either right now on the live stream or at some point later. We believe that the nuggets that we will share here today will be a blessing to someone, and I do not take this for granted at all. So thank you very much. So who is Dikpo Adeshida? Dikpo Adeshida is a number of things, and depending on when you met me, you might see a different side of me, just like the proverbial elephant. You know, if you stood by the legs, you think I was a tall tree. If you stood by the trunk, you think I was like a snake. If you stood by the ears, you think I was like a flappy leaf. So I have different parts, and they've sort of manifested at different times in my life. But for some of the forensic information about me, I'm the last of five children. I was born in Kaduna, in northern Nigeria. I spent nursery, primary, secondary school up north, and then went to uni in Obafemi University. Um, and I think from a very young age, I was always very restless, very, very restless, very troublesome, growing up. And, a lot of that was characterized by, again, how we grew up. We were pretty much outside as young kids, playing football, doing all kinds of things. I remember that my mother who had me when she was in her 40s, must have been really frustrated with trying to raise this, young guy. She had tried literally everything to calm me down, beating everything, nothing worked. Excuse me. Then one day, she decides to make me write, and she told me that I should write a short story. And for the life of me, I didn't even think that writing was anything that I would be interested in. But that day I sat down and I wrote a story. Of course, it was a kind of story that still had trouble inside, because the story was like, I took my mother's car out. The police were chasing me around, and they caught me, and then they locked me up in the cell. And my mother came to bail me out. When my mom read the story, she wasn't sure whether she should be angry or happy, because the purpose of her telling me to write the story was almost defeated. But that particular incident sort of unlocked the desire to write. I think for the first time, I actually found out that, writing is, you can be imaginative with your thoughts. You can take thoughts and put it down in pen and paper. And so such sort of began my trajectory into my interest in the arts. Again, being a bit of a rebellious fellow, in the 90s, what were the options for you to become? A lawyer, an engineer, a doctor, all those things. I was like, nah, none of that for me. I want to become a theater artist. Again, rebellion, restlessness. My parents were like, what kind of child is this? But I went ahead to pursue a degree in dramatic arts. And that's sort of where this story that we're going to be, listening to today kind of begins. Because I was in my first year in the university when I had an accident. That was December 1997.
Before be- be-
Yes, I was in my first.
Before we go to the accident, just I'm sorry to pause you. Like I said, my job is to tease out the story. There was
Okay.
already what you're saying. There was already a mental in your upbringing. There was already a mental framework in your upbringing of a certain kind of personality, and that was playing out. Now, my question is: at that point, it felt negative. Looking back now, would you say that mental frame of mind, bless you, was an advantage?
I would say yes. I would say yes, because there's a particular book called The Birth Order, and in that
Right.
book it talks about the, what each child in the family represent, the typical characteristics of children in the family. And I mean, as a last born, there are a number of archetypes. Last borns can be spoilt, but last borns can also be the ones that after they thought they had finished having all the children, this one popped out of nowhere, and so you're almost the child of the firstborn. So in my own case, I think that by the time my mother had me and my siblings who are watching me want to correct this impression, but the impression I had was like, oh, about you're in this world by yourself. Just figure your way out, because my mom and my dad, they were already mid career, very busy with life, and so I pretty much had a very, very interesting and adventurous upbringing. An upbringing where we sort of tried many things. There wasn't TV like we know it today, so almost everything was experimental. Like, right, we had to build our toys, we had to use our hands to do stuff. If you if you had a disagreement with somebody, you fought with the person, literally. Like, there was nobody to come home and report anybody to, so you had to be strong. And I think that kind of grooming helped, because it meant that if you there was nobody there to help you solve any problem. There was no daddy to run to. There was no elder brother to fight for you. You had to sort yourself out. And I think for the most part, when I think of growing up, especially my secondary school days, there was no I was not a nepo baby. There was no money waiting for me anywhere. It was when we went to boarding school, we went by bus, dropped us at the park. We found our way to school 3 hours away. Some visiting days, if there was a chance, my parents would come. But if they didn't come, we just wing it. So maybe looking back at your and thinking about your question, that maybe that background sort of had a way of grooming someone. Yeah, perhaps it did. It did, because there was like no fallback plan, so you just had to sort of find your way in the world. And yes, it did help. Thinking about it now, it did help.
Thank you so much for that. Please go ahead. So you at the accident point. So I asked that question because of many of our listeners. We have the conversation on social media, nepo baby and lapo baby, something like that. We are in we are in a race against time to raise a much more resilient generation. We
Mm,
need resilience nowadays. But please go on, sir. The
mm.
accident now, the university and that.
So 1997, that was my first year in uni. I don't forget, like I mentioned, taking that course in uni was a pure act of rebellion, because number one, I grew up in the north. I didn't want to be in the north. I didn't want to be close to my parents. I just wanted to be as far away from home as possible. Number two, the choice of the course itself was like, because my dad was an accountant, my mom was an English lecturer. I didn't want anything that's like had any ties to them. So this choice of course was completely offbeat. Nobody in my family had any. I mean, it's not like today where Nollywood is balling. This was 1997. There was the only references for people in the theater were Baba Salah and you know and Ogunde and all of that. But for me, it was just an adventure. So when I got into OAU, or Ife as they call it, I then had some kind of catharsis, because I figured that, oh my God,
You're
this is
finally alone.
this choice is going to haunt me. But I was like, you know what? I've taken the stand. This is my decision. Nothing. I'll be fine. But anyway, so I started first semester, second semester started, came home for the Christmas holiday in December. And that was the year I also turned 18. So my dad had promised me that when I turned 18, I'll learn how to drive. Of course, I was really looking forward to driving, because, I mean, this was the 90s. Most of my mates had already been driving like 2 years, 3 years. Me, I was very late to the party. So that December, my Christmas time, my dad told his driver to teach me how to drive, and so we got on the road. And I think maybe a couple of days leading to that particular incident, My immediate older brother had also been sort of teaching me how to drive. We had a station wagon, 504 station wagon, and a 504 saloon. Um, so he had sort of teaching me how to drive the station wagon, but the saloon was my father's car. So on this particular day, 30th of December, 97, my dad, told his driver to teach me how to drive. So we went out. I mean, we were out like the whole morning. After we dropped him at work, we drove around town a bit. And then my dad's driver was like, you know what? This is Kaduna. Let's go towards Jos. Of course, being an adventurous soul, I was like, yeah, let's go. And I was one driving. So we faced Just. For context, Just is about 3 hours from Kaduna. I wasn't sure if we were going to go all the way, but again, it sounded exciting. So we started the journey, but for some reason, the the fuel filter was failing. I think there was some dust in it. This was still in the days of manual transmission, so the car was jerking. We had already gone maybe 30 minutes or an hour that way, so we now had to come back. So on our way back into Kaduna town, it was end of year, like I said. The driver saw some chickens he wanted to buy on the road. I was one driving, of course, still very wet behind the ears. So I stopped. As we were driving back into town, the driver saw live chickens that he wanted to buy. So he said I should stop the car. But I'd already gone past, so you know, I stopped in front. And then the only way I could go back to where they were selling chickens was to reverse. So I put the car in reverse and started reversing. Now, what happened very quickly. As I was reversing, I looked in the mirror and I saw a trailer coming at the car. So when the guy
Wow.
was reversing, yes, I saw a trailer coming at the car. So what I
From
think
the
I remember,
front,
no,
from the
from the
front
back,
or back?
from the back.
Okay. Okay.
We were on the express, so it was a dual carriage expressway. Yeah, but
Okay.
I had parked at the side of the road. So when I was reversing, I came into the slow lane, right? Yeah, so that I would sort of come and then go back into the sidewalk. So coming into the slow lane, I saw that trailer coming, and it was coming at top speed because it was the express. Now, what I think happened was that maybe in panic, instead of swerving back into the slow lane, I swerved into the fast lane, and this was happening at full speed, maybe because of panic. Now, the trailer, as I was told, was trying to avoid me, so it went into the slow lane, and then me now realizing, oh shoot, I'm in the fast lane. I now swerved into the slow lane. But anyway, long story short, the trailer and our car met at a tangent, and the
Whoa.
car, hit the driver's side and pushed our car to a stop. It was an 18 wheeler carrying cement. So it
Oh wow.
was at top speed. I was sort of the one that intercepted it with my side of the car, the driver's side. So it
Oh wow.
crushed like car. Of course, before the trailer hit the car, he just really passed out. I
Oh
just
wow.
went.
Oh wow.
So by the time
Oh
I
wow.
woke up, it was I guess a couple of minutes after. I don't know how long. I
Well.
just noticed that. I just noticed that there was, in the movies where there's like no sound, you can just hear this shrill. Wee. I saw that. I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer. I think. Then I was looking for the driver because he was the last person I saw. Right. And then I saw myself outside because I wasn't inside the car. I saw myself outside on the floor, and there was glass all around.
Oh
So
wow.
as soon as I regained consciousness, I tried to get up, but I figured I couldn't stand up.
Oh
So
wow.
at that point, I was like, okay, why can't I stand up now? So I think I grabbed my feet, my legs, my laps, my thighs
Yeah.
rather.
Yeah.
I tried to touch them. I couldn't feel anything,
Oh wow.
you know. So again, I was in line position because they must have brought us out of the car. So I
Oh
tried
yeah.
to get up. I
Oh
tried to
yeah.
sit up. I couldn't sit up. So
Oh
it was
wow.
at that point that all the pain now came rushing in.
Simultaneously.
Everything was just happening at the same time.
Oh
So I
wow.
was. Now, when that happened, this was the express. Don't forget, we're on the expressway, so other
Yeah.
commercial vehicles started stopping. They shot picked us out of the car, picked him from the ground. The driver, he was thrown out through the windscreen. Now, in my case, I was blessed because I had my seatbelt on, so I was retained
Okay.
in the car. I
Okay.
don't know if I was thrown out, but he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, so he was thrown out through the windscreen. They shall found both of us, put us in the back seat of an 18-seater bus, and then they took us to the police station to write a statement first before
Mm.
before we went to the hospital. Now, while all this was
Mm.
going, somewhere in my mind, I was figuring out that there was a big problem because I couldn't feel my legs and
Mm.
back was hurting. Like my back was like on fire, and then I was
Mm.
feeling, like in put in the car with every every ditch the car went into, every bump in the road. I was feeling everything.
Mm.
So anyway, we ended up in the hospital that day. They put us in emergency. I had a cuts above my eye. My skull was swollen. My cranium hair was like, I think there was some fluid there, so it
Mm.
was swollen. But in all this, they didn't kind of figure out that there was a spinal injury
Mm.
yet because I had all these external pains. Like my tummy was hurting. I had a gash. My head was so they sort of tried to stabilize me to treat all that. It wasn't until that evening that no, it wasn't that evening. I think it was the next evening because this happened around two
Mm.
p.m. that day. The next evening, because I was waiting for surgery. Sorry, that night I was waiting for surgery. They had to do a laparotomy because my stomach
Mhm.
was swollen. Like it was just a horrible,
Wow.
historic case. Anyway, um, it's interesting because I haven't really told this story in this much detail. I don't think I've said this. Yeah, and it's been almost 30
Wow.
years. So again, maybe I guess has a reason
Wow.
for me saying this. Anyway, so it was the second night. I was recovering from surgery. Then the whole thing about my legs not feeling like the legs were numb. The waist down was numb. I couldn't even sit. I was just in
Wow.
lying position. But even though they were numb, the my feet were my feet were still
Mm.
hurting. And it was funny. Don't forget, this is December in Kaduna,
Mhm. Mhm.
Hamatan,
Mhm.
typically, right? Hamatan, the weather is cold, but I then noticed that they had. Again, I won't spend too much
Mhm.
time on the details because we need to get to the interesting part. This
Mhm.
is not the
Mhm.
interesting
Mhm. Mhm. But
part.
it's quite important because then it's going to show us the
Mm,
context of the good parts. And people go
mm,
through life uh, passing through negative experiences, and we always are tempted to throw in the towel. We always are tempted to
mm,
believe that, oh, well, all hope is gone, but at the end of the day there's a lot to do. Irrespective of how things hit
mm.
you, there is still life outside of that season. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is December in Kaduna. The Hamatan is usually fierce. Now the hair on my legs, right, were because naturally during Hamatan, your hair kind of stands. Now because of the cold, they tried to put a blanket over my legs, and you won't believe that that blanket touching my legs would send serious pain to my brain. So they had to put a frame over my legs before they could put the blanket on top of it. They had to put a frame over my legs because nothing could touch my legs. My legs, even though I couldn't feel, don't forget, I couldn't feel, but there was still some extra. They call it hyperesthesia. It's like intense sensation on the some part of the body. Anyway, they had dealt with the medical part, which was the swollen skull. I think they had to drain something here, and they had to stitch my, they still have like a small gash here, if you can see. and they had to do the surgery on my tummy. But all those were the medical procedures. Now it came to the orthopedic issue, and again, this is going like 3 day, 3 day, four. And one of those doctors is like, yeah, once this guy heals from all these surgeries and stuff that we've done, he can we just put him on a wheelchair and send him home. So like my mom was like wheelchair bow. Me, I was like, wheelchair bow.
Hmm.
Like, what do you mean by wheelchair? That day, I said I'm not going to sit on a wheelchair. I was like, what rubbish wheelchair? So
That
the
day, you said in your mind
said
that
that
you were
day,
not going to
as that
sit.
doctor was saying, I cannot forget his name. I cannot forget that. In fact, if I see him today, I may not remember him in detail, but I cannot forget what he said. He said wheelchair. I was like, what does that mean? Wheelchair. I was like, I'm not going to sit in a wheelchair. Little did I know that the case was really serious. So it was a spinal cord injury. Um, and I was going to stay on that bed for I was in that hospital for almost 6 months, almost in a lying position for almost 6 months. I completely lost my sensation from my waist down. Couldn't sit, couldn't. I didn't have a bath in that whole period of time. I couldn't poo by myself. I couldn't use the toilet by myself. They had to be turning me over to extract feces from my rectum. Um, they had to put me in a POP, a thoracic POP from chest to my waist. It's a long story, but God used many people. So one of the people God used was my oldest sister. She's a medical doctor. She's based in Lagos. She came from Lagos to Kaduna at the time to come and check my case files. Because like I said, they were managing me for medical procedures, but this was an orthopedic case as well. So she had to come to insist that, they also start looking into the orthopedic aspect of it. So I had to start physiotherapy, but then you couldn't touch my legs because there was no sensation. It was a really jumbled mess. Um, but gradually things started to look up. I started having feelings in my feet. Gradually, from intense pain, it started reducing. I started feeling a bit, sensation started returning to my feet, and then, but then I couldn't sit. I couldn't sit. I had to learn how to sit maybe like month 4 or 5. Then I had to learn to stand, and then I had to learn to walk all over again. So by the time I was leaving the hospital, I think I left the hospital in April or May. I'm not quite sure of the time now. I think it was May or so. I'd learned how to stand. So I was sent home to recover and to start physiotherapy. And all the while in my mind, I just kept saying, Dipo, you have to go back to school. You have to go back to school. You have to go back to school. You have to go back to uni. Because that December that we took a break, we were meant to come back in January to write exams. So I'd already missed my second semester exams. A new session had already started, which I had missed. My mind was just on going back to school. So I got discharged. I was home for the rest of that year. But after I got discharged, I went to start physiotherapy in one of the government physiotherapy clinics. And the day I resumed there, it was funny. Now, don't forget, this is me just learning to stand and learning to take a few steps. I mean, then to cover 1 meter, it probably take me like a minute because I literally couldn't walk. I had to use like a walking frame, gradually. So I got to this place, and then the place. I mean, it's a government physiotherapy clinic. People there are so lackadaisical. You just say, hey, you're welcome. They opened a form for me, got a card. Now said I should go to the place, to the like a gym, not a gym, just a big space shop. And said I should, just move my legs for a bit. The physiotherapist said he would come back, and then he left me there. After like an hour, I was the one managing myself. I got back to the because they had like a ward with beds. They put some infrared thing on my back, and they said that was it for that day. And I asked myself, is this how I'm going to learn how to walk again? That day, I just told my dad's driver, take me to Kaduna has this place called Murtala Mohammed Square, where there are a lot of gyms. I said, take me straight to Murtala Mohammed Square. I need to find a gym. This is rubbish. I can't deal with
No,
this. What
please,
kind of
please, please, please pause. Please pause.
okay?
You're dropping several gems, and it's exciting to see what you're saying. I'm totally excited at some of the things you're saying. So, as they were giving you options, another conversation was going on internally. Because
Yeah,
they were giving you physical options, but you were coming up with other options in your soul. The realm of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and imagination was producing other alternatives of options for you. And that's a big lesson right there. And please, for those on the platforms, please can you just type the lessons you're learning? Because they're saying something, and Mr. Dikbo is giving other options. Doctors are saying A, he's saying Z. Now, the specialists and the professionals in your life could be wrong. What are your accountants saying? What are your doctors saying? What are your friends and family saying? It's okay to be stubborn with good things. It's okay to have the mental resilience of a bulwark. I will not take this stethoscope. You will not put me on this wheelchair. He said he vowed. How old were you at the time again, sir?
I was 18.
At 18, he was writing another script. So it doesn't matter the script around you on the outside, the script on the inside of you that is speaking, the script in between your two ears is far more important. The picture your life will eventually bring out compared to what the world is presenting to you. You don't have to live by the options of the world around you. You do not have to live by the options of the world around you. Yes, sir. Please go on.
So I tell my dad's driver, please, again, this is another driver, not the same one that had the accident with. I tell my dad's
You
driver,
gave him another instruction apart from contrary to doctor's instructions.
oh yes, because the therapist said, that I think I was supposed to be coming twice a week, and I was thinking if I come to this place 2 times a week, and for most of the time I'm going to be the one helping myself in this gym, like no one is here with me, because again, you know how government, institutions can be. There's no point. I'm not going to recover. This is not this speed, this pace is not going to help me in any way. So I just told the driver, take me to Murtala
Please
Mohammed Square.
permit me to
I didn't know where I was.
permit me to pause again.
Okay.
This speed, this space, there's a third parameter. You said this, yeah, yeah, okay. The third one is eventual outcome or result. You said this is not the result I'm looking for. This speed and this space will not get me into the health condition I want to be in. That's very important. That mental syntax, very important. The speed and the pace. Hello, Mr. Deep, are you there? Hello, Mr. D. Mr. D just went frozen. But can everyone still hear me? I want to know whether across the channels I'm still audible and you can hear me. Across the channels, please let me know if you can hear me. Hello, everyone. I hope I'm still audible. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you can hear me, everyone.
Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You went off a
Okay, so
bit. You went
I
off a
froze
bit.
for sorry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
You know, not at all, not at all. You were explaining to us that this space, this speed, and this result is not what you are looking for. Because of that, you chose the gym rather than the physiotherapist office. How did that pan out? What was the resistance? How did the driver agree to such suicidal move in code? I mean, someone that's that fragile. If I was the driver, he could be sacked. He could lose his job.
Well, the driver didn't have a say in this matter. This thing
Wow.
was this call was mine entirely. This call was mine entirely. Even the physiotherapist. I mean, and think about this: if the physiotherapist was a family, was a church member, a family friend, you know.
Wow.
But I couldn't. Again, these are God inspired thoughts, right? But I
Hmm.
believe that
They are
God put that.
God inspired
Oh,
thoughts.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, they are God inspired thoughts, because I want to believe very strongly that that's that image that He put of me not sitting on that wheelchair was something that was an extension of just His mercy, right?
Hmm.
Because something that I've not mentioned in the course of this conversation, because we're talking about a long period of time, both in the hospital, in recovery, was that the ward I was in was a medical ward, not an orthopedic ward. And in that ward, people would be brought in, maybe accident cases, gunshot cases, um, and sometimes people would die. Like people would just within 2 days they're dead. They will wrap them up in white cloth and just wheel them out, stuff them with cotton wool in their nose and all their orifices. So I saw people die a lot in the months I was there. I saw a lot of people
Hmm.
die. I saw people with all kinds of funny cases, burn cases, um, gunshot cases, robbery cases, all kinds of cases, right?
Hmm.
And as an 18-year-old, I had never had those kind of experiences before. I mean, I grew up pretty middle class family, everything, going well. So to move from that into this uh this restricted space where almost everything that you're seeing is just filled with sometimes hopelessness, sometimes morbidity. God extended His mercy to me, not to allow me to settle in that space. He just
Hmm.
gave me that strength. And that
Hmm.
first statement about me not staying on that wheelchair, I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it came from, but it was just a refusal to say, I'm not going to sit in a wheelchair. I am not. Number two, getting into that physiotherapy clinic, that statement of get me out of this space as fast as possible. This cannot be the pace of recovery that I'm looking for. No, if I want to go back to school, I need to be on a program that allows me to get better quicker. I need to use these legs to walk again. Okay, I'm not going to be at the mercy of this wooden frame or this pace. Nah. So that
Hmm.
decision to leave that place
Please,
and go to
please,
the to the
Mr. Dipo, please pause that thought. Please don't forget the last thought there. So there was a goal.
yeah, there was a goal.
Because the rule in neuro linguistic analytics is called
Oh,
meta programming. If you understand the accompanying mental situation of any results you see, then you can have the same result. One of the major reasons why we're doing this is to make greatness common and to give people the picture of the future that is different from the current architecture that they see. So, what you're saying is that by God inspired inspirational thinking, you had another picture, that internal picture of going back to school, being in class, and living a better life. Despite the picture being presented to you, you choose another internal picture that's apparent to you. And that's something very deep and very big that all of us must learn. So, number one, there was a picture and a desire because there was an internal goal that rallied around going back to school. Number two is that there was, despite the surrounding debilitating conditions, despite people dying in those words, there was another cause of action. So the subconscious conversation is everybody's dying who is going through this door of the advice of the doctors. Why don't I go to the gym, a place of action, rather than the hospital? So In life, when you're hit, let me tell everyone listening to me, do you want to choose the hospital or you want to choose the gym? Life hits you hard. Are you choosing the gym or the hospital? The two will heal you, but the gym will be a faster pace. The hospital will be a slower pace. And the two are needed. What people do is that they stay so long in the hospital phase, they don't come to the gym phase on time. So their mind has accepted the defeat. But what you're saying is deep and profound, which is hit the gym quickly because that is where life is coming to. That's fast forwarding. That's you mentally fast forwarding your journey anyway. That's you trying not to stay too long in the weak zone. Please continue, sir.
Thank you very much. I just want to be sure that you can hear me clearly, that there is no glitch in my sound. Can you hear me clearly? Am I still audible?
Can see we can
Hello?
see you. Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, and you can hear me clear. You can hear me clearly as well.
Clearly. Or yeah, although the quality
Okay,
of the internet has dropped, the quality dropped a little bit, but we can still hear and see you, sir.
okay, all right. Thank you. So so I got to the gym that day because it was on the same day. I got to the gym. We drive around. I'm looking for gyms. Eventually I find one. You know, it's it's called Ali. It's called Alik. And in fact, the gym had a very long ramp. A very long ramp. So the car had to drive all the way to the very top to get there. So we get there, I walk in, like, hey, I'm looking for I need to work out, I need to register at this gym, you know. And I made the owner tell him, look, this is what I want to do. I had an accident, I need these legs to move. So he's like, okay, no problem,
Hmm.
you can come. You can come back. You can come back. Thank you very much, Festus. You can come back tomorrow. So I think I did I think I did every day of the week, or maybe 4 days or something a week. And I used to go in the mornings.
Hmm.
And boy, oh boy, that guy, he bashed me, he pumped me, he, his name was Ali. Ali was ruthless with me. He didn't spare me. He used to give me weights to carry. He used to he was just treating me like a basket case that needed to like a prodigal son that needed to find his way back to his senses. But what happened was that in that gym, because in the mornings, a lot of his other he had two sessions, morning and evening. So in the mornings, his clients will come. In the evenings, I didn't go in the evening, but in the mornings, I'll get to meet a lot of people who came to the gym. I mean, able-bodied people, people who are working out, and that whole thing about seeing normal people working out was was food to my soul because I needed to see those kind of things. I needed to see people walking normally. In a physiotherapy ward, everybody there had some problem. Either it was a polio leg or whatever, wheelchair. But in this gym, it was seeing able-bodied people. Everybody was fine. Maybe trying to lose weight, but at least they could walk.
Hmm.
And Ali was not a medical person. Ali was just a fitness coach. And so he helped me get my strength back. He had sandbags he used to put in my backpack, and he told me to walk up and down that slope, that steep. It was tough, but it was good because at the end of the day, um, when I was ready to go back to school, I was ready. I was ready mentally. I was ready physically. I learned how to carry buckets of water. I learned how to balance myself. I learned how to stand for extended periods of time. Again, because my mobility was coming back gradually. Don't forget, I was just learning how to walk. So The muscles of my legs were so tiny when I came out of the hospital. They were really small because I hadn't stood in months, almost half a year. So my legs were really emaciated. So he helped to build my calves, build my leg muscles to the point that I could now stand by myself. So after I think I did that for about 6 months because I resumed in school the January of the next year. You know, by the time I was
Now,
ready to go
now,
back to
now,
school.
now just a few questions, Mr. D. So,
Okay.
you mentioned there was a picture of the word, and there's a picture of the gym. You said the picture of the gym was food to your soul, while the picture of the hospital was, I don't know what to call it, was poo to your soul, to sound rhythmic, or or to use quotable quote formats or motivational speaking thing. But what you're saying is very instructive. So we must supply ourselves with another picture. We must find a means of giving ourselves another picture, and then attach emotions to that new picture.
Oh,
Now, what did the doctor say about your regime? Did they hear about it? What did the doctor say about your regime? Didn't they say it's what do you call that now? They say it's suicidal to do what you're doing? Doctors didn't tell you that.
oh dear. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said your doctors, they didn't say you were trying to commit suicide or anything like that. The
Well,
doctors, what did they say?
I, I had been discharged from the hospital, so I wasn't the doctor's problem anymore. I was
Oh,
my own problem now. I was still going for checkups, but the
okay.
checkups were periodic, so maybe monthly or something. But I mean, again, I was in a government hospital, and the general attitude of hospitals, they didn't sound like they were that interested in in me being wholesome again. So I wasn't going to
Mm,
let I wasn't going to let anybody determine the rate of my progress. No, I wasn't.
mm,
I was very clear minded about that. That it wasn't any doctor's call to to sort of say this is the path or this is the tempo that your recovery will take. No, and thankfully my parents were also very supportive. When I got back home and said I'm not going to that physiotherapy clinic again. I'm going to a gym. My parents were very supportive. They paid for the gym membership and they didn't ask me too many questions.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so by the time I was ready to go back to school, I was mentally ready.
Mm,
Now, if you remember the story, I told you I was studying theater arts in school.
yeah.
Uh, and there was now a bigger problem of going back to school to go and to go back to theater arts, which was very, very performative in nature.
Mm.
Again, before I
Theater
left,
art
before
was
I left
performative
the,
in
the
nature.
oh yes, yes, very performative in
So you
nature.
had to move
So before I
around.
left, yes, a lot of dancing, acting, doing all kinds of things with your body. Now, before I left, I'd become quite uh, interested in dance. Dance was something that I'd found to be a great expression. So by the time go back to school, yeah, of course, dancing was not really there because my gait was not. It was not that. It wasn't that balanced. I still had a bit of wobbliness to my movement. Um, but something interesting happened, and this is where when the Bible talks about time and chance,
Mm,
believe it. So the year that I came back to school, back to Ife,
mm,
I'd lost 3 semesters, by the way. So my
mm,
mates were now ahead of by a year, in fact, like a year and a half. Story for another day. I won't talk too much about it. So by the time I got back to school, I was with a new set of classmates. But something interesting happened. Professor Olarotimi, who had been on, I don't know, he had been away from the school. He was a visiting professor, so he came back to lecture at OAU at the time, and um, he was teaching our class. Now, because I'd been away from school for that long, I was also doing a lot of reading while I had been away. I'd been reading a lot. I mean, I've always liked, no, not that I've always liked reading. During my time away, my reading culture got really, really impressive because I wasn't doing anything apart from just going to the gym. So I was gobbling up every book that was in sight, and so I'd really done a lot of um, I had I had expanded my my knowledge base. I've been very heavily vested in history, in politics, in economics. So when Professor Larry came back, um, he conducted a test for our class, and I think I must have scored like 98 over 100. And so he said, "Who is this person?" You know, I think he had done tests across all he was teaching part two, part three, and part four, if I remember vividly. And he did this test for our class, and my score was like really high. I think it was 98. And he insisted that he wanted to meet me. So he met me and said, "Who are you? Where are you?" Like so he took particular interest in me. In fact, he took my scripts. He showed those who are in 300 level, 400 level, that this is how you answer an exam question, whatever, whatever. He started calling me Baba Adeshida. So me that I came back to this guy doing his thing, just trying to make sure that I got through. Suddenly, I became some sort of star material on in our department because Professor Olaratumi took me as his poster child. He
Hmm.
would talk about me in all the classes. That guy, his head is hot. Skinny call, skinny call. That's how he used to talk about me so much. Now, here's the interesting part. Professor Laratimi came back to the campus with he got some funding for from I think Ford Foundation to do some of his plays, and so he was supposed to do The Gods Are Not to Blame. And he was supposed to take it to Lagos for a command performance. Do you know this man insisted that I must be part of the cast? Like I didn't go for the audition. No, I wasn't part of the audition. He sent for me. He said I want you to be part of the cast of this play, and you are going to dance. He said you are going to dance. You are going to join the cast. He gave me a role in the play. He insisted. In fact, let me tell you how serious it was. He even made me miss one of my sister's weddings because my sister was getting married in Kaduna, 1999. Professor didn't allow me to go for that wedding. He insisted I must be part of the rehearsals. So professor's interest in me started to give me, like I told you, I had my own moment of hubris with this choice that I had for theater arts. But for the great Olaro to me to start taking interest in me made me realize, okay, wait a minute. Hmm. If this whole sequence of events didn't happen the way they did, I wouldn't have met Prof. Maybe even when I met him, I would just have been like an average student and all that. His particular interest in me, Prof was the one who made me, who got me, who now reignited my interest in writing. Because I told you I'd liked writing, right from when I was a bit younger, but this interest in writing made me see writing as a career, and um, I mean, needless to say, I the result that didn't allow me finish from Ife with a first class was my first semester part one results. From the moment I came back to school, I was 4 points, firing 4 points on all cylinders. You know,
Wow. So that
so I just
experience was a catalyst.
yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was. It was. I finished top in my class. In fact, like I said, my first semester result, which was before the accident, was what just messed up my. I mean, it wasn't a bad result, but it was an average result. But coming back to school, Professor Olaritimi's interest in me academically, it's like when a professor holds you up as a poster child, even you yourself, you begin to see yourself differently, and that thing just held me through till I finished. I was in 4 points. Almost for the semester I made 5 points. Is it 5 points? I think I got 5 points, 4.9 or something. Re- something that I was like, oh boy, you said you hot though. So I mean, I finished up to my class. I was now sure-footed about my choice of doing theater arts, because Prof had now given me like this booster, and he would involve me in plays. Unfortunately, he died before I graduated. He died in my 300 level, I think. Um, but it was like he had fulfilled his mission in my life. And so I finished from uni, went to serve, and again, another interesting decision was where to settle down for work. Yeah, don't forget, my life had been mostly in Kaduna, in the north, did uni in Ife, and then I served in Port Harcourt. And as I was finishing my youth service, I was like, I think Lagos is the place I should be. Now, it was a scary thought because I'd never lived in Lagos, never had anything to do in Lagos. But I did ask myself a question. If you're a writer and you're interested in things around broadcast and all of that, Lagos is the only natural place that you should be. And so I came to Lagos. Very scary. My Lagos journey was extremely scary. I had a sister who lived in Otta at the time, so Otta was the only place I knew in Lagos per se. But came to Lagos, rough start, plenty of basbos, but God helped us, and our journey found advertising, marketing, and all of that, and yeah, interesting journey. And just to go back to what you said, Dr. Abodunrin, this experience that I've had, I honestly, many times, I don't remember. Let me say it that way, and I'm trying to be modest here. Um, I don't consider myself to be a person that has any disability, honestly. And I'm not saying it to brag. It just doesn't register to me. It's a I don't think about it. Now, sometimes when I meet people for the first time, I'm thinking, oh, why is this person looking like me like this? Oh, okay, whatever. But I don't think about it. I don't think about it. I don't think about it. I don't relate with my even with myself as someone that has any kind of mobility impediment. In fact, I've made this joke before. There was the Mandela Washington Fellowship program that we did in 2015, right? Because it was a U.S. exchange program, and I had to fill, you had to fill this form. And for the first time in my life, they were asking about this. I was like, like, am I disabled? I'm not now. It took me so long to fill that form because I like, no, this cannot be me. Why are they asking me all these questions? Like, it's not your business now. Just allow me. The US has a way of trying to profile everybody. You must be either white or black. You must be, the US has like boxes that you sort of have to fit into. And it was really difficult for me because, um, I don't know, but I reluctantly checked that box. And yeah, I think that experience was maybe the only time I was kind of conscious about it. But otherwise, I go about my business normally. There's nothing I cannot do. I've entered bus in this Lagos. I've entered Molo in Lagos. I've climbed bike. I've climbed keke. I've done everything. I drive. I swim. By God's grace, I'm married. Have a child. Uh, we do everything. We walk. We travel. There's, you know. So honestly, it's a blessing. But to speak more specifically about um, some of the things that I've in retrospect now, I see that God really did for me was that he planted those pictures in my mind. Because even at the time when these things happened, I wouldn't particularly say I was deeply religious. No, I mean, I was born into a Christian home and all of that, but um, my my first year in uni, which was the 1997, I had given my life to Christ again, and attended a fellowship on campus called Christ Love Fellowship, and that fellowship had like really deep impact on my faith journey, because I mean I was raised Baptist, quite orthodox and structured, but Christ Love Fellowship was, you know, quite Pentecostal, very different teachings on faith. As a Baptist, faith is not such a big, it's not such a big thing. You sing the hymns, you go for baptism. It's a very democratic setting, but my faith on campus was really strengthened, and God was really preparing me for this experience, because by the time I came back, it was very, very. I was a different kind of person. I was a very different kind of person. Very introspective, almost like a philosopher. People say, "This guy, you're so wise, you're so quiet." I'm like, no, Coco. You don't know the former version of it.
No. Sorry, I have a few. I have a few questions there.
Yeah,
So that accident became a converter to your personality. There was Deeper 1.0 and Deeper 2.0. It seemed
absolutely.
like, because it's a reflection, like I said, you and I are both facilitating into the future
Mm,
a picture of a preferred outcome. And I am just, because some things you're saying are very deep. So that experience was a mirror, was a way of you seeing the world from another perspective. And that also moved you into a new paradigm. You had become a philosopher, a sage, a writer, a stronger academician, an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, because you started now a fellowship. All because you reversed during a driving lesson. So there is what is called adversity capital or misfortune capital,
mm,
where what we call a misfortune may be the genius moment of the creator trying to give us another outcome. So, looking back, maybe we can say, "Thank you, Jesus, that this happened." I mean, at first, well, it's probably going to be like, "Oh, hey, oh, you went through all that, oh, Pele," and then the way we are very psychologically,
mm,
the way Nigerians are,
mm.
or Yoruba people, pity party. But now you can look back and say, count it all joy, like Paul the Apostle said, when you go through diverse temptations and pressures, for
Yeah.
this light affliction shall give birth to a bigger weight of glory. Count it all joy when you go through diverse temptations and pressures, for this light affliction will give birth to a bigger weight of glory. So there's a bigger weight because now there's deeper the writer, deeper the sage, deeper the philosopher, deeper the artists, and deeper the scholar. The not just are you an academician, but now your GP had gone to the 4.0s from the 2.0. So all the energies of the stress that you normally will put people through became converted. So if you have any bad habits like you're stubborn or anything negative, please learn from Mr. Deeper's story. It may be a raw material. The only thing is that you may have to go through some lessons and some tougher circumstances in life. I mean, but at the end of the day, I'm excited to be in the studio, and it's a honor and a privilege to share this with you. Please take your time to take us through those changes. What are those changes, and how did they happen internally? What was the journey internally that led you to start acting a different way? What were the emotions, the imaginations, the feelings, and the mental pictures that became the new paradigms by which you form new neural pathways to get this result?
Mm. Okay, thank you, Doc. So one of them, and again, this is become very clear in retrospect, is that if you observe nature, and that classic example of the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? that the caterpillar and the butterfly are essentially, if you check the nucleus, they are one and the same organism. But if you look at the expression, they are different.
Hmm. Please say that again. Please say that again. The caterpillar for
Yes,
assimilation and the
yes,
butterfly
yes,
is the same organism,
yes.
but what is different?
The difference is in the expression. So at a molecular level, they are both the same organism. But a caterpillar can never become a butterfly if it doesn't go through that process. It will die a caterpillar. It will never look like, if you spread a caterpillar out, you will not see those wings. If you cut it open, I mean, we used to do these things as kids, if you take the caterpillar and cut it, you will not find those beautiful wings there. You will not find
You will
you
not
will not
find
find
those beautiful
you will
wings
not
there.
find it there. But it is there. It's a combination of what is inherently inside that caterpillar, and the process that it has to go through, that metamorphosis that produces that completely different organism. So why am I using this reference? In my case specifically, like I told you, very restless beginning, extremely restless.
Hmm.
My wife today is someone that I've known right from when I was a kid. I think I was a bit like 10 when I knew her. We grew up in the same church, and so she's known me. She's known the 1.0 and she knows the 2.0, and to her they're completely different people, because
Hmm.
she knew me as a rough, very rough guy. If there was a fight in church, trust Tipo, he'll be there, you know. And today, this guy is gentle, he's a gentleman, takes care of his family, doesn't fight, doesn't like, yeah, should I use? So one of those lessons is that for there to be any significant change in anyone's life or character or anything, there has to be a time of separation. Now that period of separation can be induced, it can be forced, it can be self-programmed. But if it is not engineered either by fate, by God, by whatever we call it, that that person can remain in that caterpillar state for life without noticing
Hmm.
any change. That's my
Hmm.
first observation. That period of separation is extremely important. Now, I do not justify an accident being the only path that have delivered my own metamorphosis, but I recognize God in it. I recognize that there was a purpose to it, even though it was very unpleasant when it happened. But I didn't see the unpleasantness as the object. I saw the process as the object. Um, there are a few friends of mine today, work colleagues, ex former colleagues, who say, "This guy, you never get rattled, you don't panic, you don't anything." And sometimes I just laugh and say, it's seeing people being wheeled into the ward and dying 2 days after, and that hospital bed, as they are moving one dead body out, they are moving another person in. You learn that life is fleeting. Anything that you struggle to hold on to so dearly, you can lose it in an instant. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't work hard and have goals and ambitions, but I'm also guided by the fact that things that are truly eternal are invisible, they're intangible. Anything that you can see and hold, it can't last forever. You can't take it with you. So those lessons on that hospital bed taught me many things. Um, I also learned about friendships, powerful lessons. There's a particular woman now, may her soul rest in peace, my mother's friend, Mrs. Adeni. Mrs. Adeni will come to the hospital every Thursday, and she will relieve my mom of taking care, because my mother, my brother had to take turns in sleeping in the hospital every night with me, because again somebody just had to be there because I couldn't move. I couldn't not even I couldn't even wee wee myself. I had to bring some, like a bedpan to do all those things. So somebody had to be with me 247. And Miss Adeni will come on Thursdays. She will resume at maybe 8 or 9 a.m. She will stay there till like 4 p.m. And she wouldn't, and she and I wouldn't talk. She would just sit down there doing her thing. And I would be lying on the bed watching or reading for the whole day. We wouldn't say much to each other. When it's time for me to eat, she would come and give me my food. And then if I needed to use myself, I'll tell her. She would bring the bedpan. And I just thought about it that this woman would come so dedicatedly every week, just sit there. She was, mind you, she was a lecturer at the Polytechnic with my mom, but she took time out of her schedule to be there. I, I, I thought of my parents, my brother, who would come and sleep in. My mom was a senior lecturer at the Polytechnic. She would sleep on the floor in the hospital for that whole period. It tells me a lot about family, about commitment, and that the people that many times the people we take for granted are the ones who will be there when things go bad, and that those people are important. They're not to be neglected. They're not to be played with. Those were the lessons I learned on the hospital bed.
Sorry,
Um, I
Mr.
also
Dipo,
learned.
please don't forget the next lesson. You also learned, please don't forget it. What you're saying is worthy of a stop and a reflection. My dear listeners, friends, and family online, please make no mistake. I do things by leading. I was inspired to discuss this conversation with a good Mr. Dipo, who has become a brother for life. You see, the the wise king of Israel, King Solomon, said, "A brother is born for the day of adversity," meaning adversity
That's it.
is what introduces your brother. Brotherhood is not
Hmm,
by blood. Adversity is the use case that defines who is a brother, who stands by you in the midst of adversity. And please don't take them for granted. There are people that will bleed on those who help them. They are so
hmm,
insecure that they think that their strength is how they are standing. And they probably need weak moments to see who will truly stand by them. Here is what I've also found out, Mr. Depot. It doesn't mean they are going to reciprocate that affection. Thank God you're a grateful
hmm,
man and you can remember who those people are. But make no mistake, there are people who pass through these experiences and yet they don't learn that that is my brother. They still feel this
hmm,
person wants to compete. Look, you're on the hospital bed. There is not Mrs. Adeni's son or daughter is at home running around. Why is she doing what she's doing? She has no basis. She's been stripped bare of that competitive
hmm,
jealousy or whatever it is. She's doing what she's doing for the sake of she sees you. That's the moment where you knew that I'm also a son in her life. I'm sure at her
hmm,
passing away, you'll really be pained and you will cry. You're going to be among the children, even if not physical, psycho emotionally. But there are people that can't receive that kind of help.
hmm,
They can't receive, they're not vulnerable enough to receive that kind of solution, even when life throws them negative circumstances or laboratories why they should learn. I have a question we're going to come back to. You mentioned that adversity is not the only one, so there's isolation, so things like retreat, reflection, things that help you to get to that zone in your mind. And that's when time stops, visit to the cemetery, morose. That's why the wise man of Israel said it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of excitement or plenty. So that's a deep place. Anybody, for you to arrive at that mental zone, you need to go to what strips you bare of this your uh what do you call that thing now? Ephemeral tendencies. So you know the value of kindness. Those things are eternal. Kindness, patience, friendship, brotherhood.
yeah,
They are far
yeah,
deeper. They are far
yeah.
stronger. They are far richer. So let's come to that. But what do you say about people that even during adversity you stood they cannot learn? they still feel you're competing. What's going on? I mean, you had that experience and you came out to say, oh, there's a Yoruba adage that says Ajumobi Okotanu and Yabini Dani. The colloquials will say Ajumobi Okotanu and Tolorun, meaning that they give birth to you together, or you're called by birth or by nativity, does not mean you're going to have mercy on me. It is God who determines who will help you. But the
Hmm.
deeper translation is even those that came from the same womb with you. You mentioned now they will not be there. I had that rude shock in some things I've done. I have seen so much betrayal in family and friends to the point that now people now say you are arrogant because you're not expecting too much
Hmm.
from anybody. You can be a party to yourself because you've been isolated and you survived. You were cast, as I think it was Samuel said, I was cast to the rocks, yet I did not die. And the Lord had mercy on me and I sprang forth. So, what's happening to those
Hmm.
kind of people who, despite this negativity, they still don't learn the lessons? And how do we avoid becoming like that? Because many of us pass through adversities daily. So, this change is available to everybody. This change is available to everybody. God Almighty will make sure we have opportunity so that in heaven we can't tell that God, you love Mr. Dipomo by allowing him to go through this experience. And people will probably see the Professor Olarutimi favoring you. They say it's Olarutimi's boy. They don't know that there's a philosopher. They don't know
Hmm.
Olarutimi had responded to greatness. He might have seen greatness in your
Hmm.
disposition and the way you handle your life, and therefore he was responding to something very deep and stopped the whole charade, permit me, the whole parade. I beg you, not charade. He stopped the whole parade for you and said, no, 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 you must insert him in the play. So, how do we ensure that we do not become um, apathetical to wisdom? And then we begin to act a certain way and continue as if that experience never happened. How do we ensure that before you go on to the next one, you want friendship, and then you mention how this changed your disposition to who is my friend and who is not my friend. Now, who is my family, who is not my family? It's not the person that stands in adversity, the person that stands in good times. It's a person that also paid the price. It caused this person his or her skin to stand with you. So, how do we ensure that we are sensitive and we learn those lessons so that it's not lost on us? Please, that point is very important.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, so we have. I think it's just realizing that we have a that everyone has a responsibility to um ultimately we're all responsible for how our lives pan
Hmm.
out. um there is the there is the there is the attitude, that's what I'm looking for, the attitude to, or the response, let me use the word response because I think that's more apt. The response to what happens, that response can either trigger the need for, let's say, pity, the need for the victim mentality, which is this thing has happened to me and therefore everybody owes me,
Hmm.
or it can trigger a feeling of gratitude, which is that, well, it could have been worse, but hey, here we are. Those responses then create, and I'll use your terms, neural pathways in the mind. Because while one mind can say, I'm a victim, everybody owes me, another mind says that, um, another mind says that I'm grateful this happened, and I'll make the best of it. That mindset is important. And just like you said initially, everything really rises and falls on the mind. The mind is what determines the outcome. So how what do people need to do so that they do not forget? I think it's to be conscious of how much God has been good to them, because it's very easy to assume it's very easy to assume that this is the only outcome that there could have been. And there could have been many outcomes. There could have been many, many outcomes. For example, if my skull cracked and it ended up as a case of memory loss or something, that's an outcome that could have had its own complete range of possibilities. If speech was affected, if sight was affected, you know. So when we look at all of that, anyone should recognize where they are right now as a place of, as a springboard, as a place where literally anything can spring up from there. That it could have been worse, but that it can only get better. Now, we cannot control how bad it could have been because there are many possibilities there. But there's a lot that we can control in terms of how good it can become. So it could have been worse, but it can be a lot better. If that's the mind frame, then there is no there is no sense of loss. Let me put it that way. There's no sense of loss. Once you realize that everything that you currently have is a gift, then you start to see that we can only build up from that point. So issues around, or things around friendship, the importance of friendship, the importance of having people around you, the importance of patience, the importance of understanding that life is a process. There are some things that if it happens suddenly, if growth happens suddenly, it can actually create a malfunction. Understanding that everybody is not going to be on the same path, that we all kind of, we will be, I mean, our fingers are not, proverbially, our fingers are not of the same length, they're all different. Is that we all have grace differently. God has given everybody, the Bible says, it's a measure of faith actually, but that also says that everybody gets their own portion in measures. We don't have the same.
Love that.
It's the same with the talent.
Hmm.
Some had five, some had two, some had one. It was what they did with it, not necessarily the quantity they had that Jesus was talking about. So, whatever you have been dealt, take it as the seed and say, what can we do with this? Not to ask, what is this among so many? I'll borrow Pastor Podge's terms. What is this among so many? As the disciples said to Jesus, but to say, this is something, what can we do with it? I think that is how the mind begins to condition itself to see that everything that you have, not everything I don't have, everything that I have right now is what I need to make necessary progress. Everything that I have right now is what I need. I'd like to share a quick story. And the first time I went to the US was 2008. And 2008 historically was an Obama year. I went in the summer of 2028, sorry, 2008 rather. And of course, when I got to the US, I was very excited about the whole Obama campaign. I had a brother who lived in Chicago. I told my brother that I want to go and see Obama, or he was like, "UK, you're coming from Nigeria, you want to come and see Obama? Who do you think you are?" So, but he was gracious enough. I think one of his friends drove me to Springfield. Took me to Obama's house. But I mean, this was in the heat of the campaign. It was a big place. It was fenced. We could see the house like down there. We just stood at the road and just looked at the house further down. I mean, there was no way I could meet this man. There was no way. So I came back to Nigeria, not very happy. I was like, I didn't even see Obama. But here's the interesting part. 2015, I'm part of this whole Obama did Mandela Washington Fellowship cohort. We end up in Washington D.C., hosted by Obama himself, and I get to meet him in person. And when I think about it, even the bros that drove me to his house in 2008 did not meet him. Me, that I had the dream and the hope, I met him. It was 8 years after, but it happened. And it happened in a dignified way. Now this time around, I was not a groupie hanging by his fence trying to get some attention. This time it was on the invitation of the president himself. So those things teach you a lesson that at a certain time that something doesn't happen doesn't mean that it will not happen.
Hmm.
They teach you lessons in humility and in ambition at the same time.
Hmm.
They teach you that even serendipity itself is a is a is an idea in God that even when things seem to happen by coincidence, there's still the hand of God in it. So those are the lessons that I've
Hmm.
learned.
That
Um,
success,
I've
that
learned that
success and humility is possible,
yes, it is possible.
and
It is
success,
possible.
humility, and patience. That that
Yeah,
that
it
that,
is
that
possible.
and that our ambition and kindness are compatible.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. There's a term I came across many years ago. It's called a zero sum game, which means that for one person to win, another person has to lose, and it doesn't always have to be that way.
Hmm.
Success doesn't have to be a zero sum game. You don't have to lose for me to win.
Hmm.
The Yoruba say it in a more proverbial form. Pé gbogbo ọ̀run tẹ́ ẹ fò láì fara kanra.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the way God has designed the world is that everybody can have their space. Everybody can be successful. I don't need to bring anybody down to establish myself as a success, and vice versa. So even when one is in a position to help another person, and you can very well do it, we don't hold back our hands because we think if by helping this person now will now have an advantage above me, and maybe by that I will reduce. No, we do it even when people treat us badly. We know that well, God Himself had had to deal with the rebellion, but we don't stop being. I mean, we're smart. Doesn't mean that we're foolish in our decisions, but we understand that our security comes from God. We're not even when we lose things that are tangible, the real source of those things are intangibles, and we can bounce back.
Hmm.
We can bounce back. Anybody can bounce back from anything, no matter how debilitating that situation has been. Even if it's a heartbreak, even if it's loss of business, loss of limb, loss of whatever, people can bounce back.
Hmm.
I think that's sort of the lesson that I've learned from this experience. That you can bounce back, and you can be a whole new version of yourself,
Hmm.
um, complete without any sense of loss.
Hmm. Complete without any sense of loss, despite loss in quotes. I need to write that down and
Exactly.
highlight. Without any sense of loss, despite earlier loss. All right. So you were on a trajectory and I cut into you. Sorry about that. I just wanted us to understand the
No
mental
problem.
syntax that made you this way. Because the traditional Gen Z question will be, how are you like this? Gen Z, and one of the things I love about this, my good friends, Alpha Gen Z, so they ask their questions directly. I mean, in my day, if you ask an elderly person, how are you like this? It's like
Mm,
you're going to hear the lecture of how old you are and who your grandfathers were and where you come from.
yeah.
But I mean, I understood the spirit of the question, so I answered the person. How are you? How did you turn out like this? So you're giving very good. So
Mm,
continue. You were explaining. I think the point you were at was the lessons and some of them that you were in, and I just went. I wanted a deep dive, and for going forward, please, I would not. I would like us to highlight. Thank you for that, Oyinkosola. If even if you lose everything tangible, the real source of all things is intangible, and we can bounce back. Yes. And thank you for that. So you were talking about You spoke earlier about isolation, negativity, or finding a laboratory that simulates and subtracts from you vanities. Um, and then you mentioned friendship as one of the things you learned or new values that came out of that experience. So you're going to go to other kind of lessons. I mentioned Mrs. Adeni, who for me I was very inspired and
Yes.
how because I found out that people are not grateful enough. And thank you for saying that. The attitude of gratitude, that everything is a seed, and I thank God I'm where I am. I mean, I've met many people who are in your shoes, sir, and let me say this categorically: God has graced you. Many people expect too much. They now start blaming the system, they blame even God, they say, why me? And then it gets very, very odd. But thank you, go on, sir, about the values that came out. How
Mm,
did Dipo 2.0 come by about? And then who is Dipo 2.0? We've seen that part of the conversation, the writer, the inspired thinker, the philosopher, the person that attracted Professor Olaru to his interest and help. People are expecting people to help them
mm,
and they are not ready for that level of being noticed. Kings will come to the brightness of your dawn. So if your dawn is not bright enough, it won't attract kings. But people are shouting for the kings and then
mm,
they even make you feel guilty that you're not noticing them. Say, I'm working hard, you're not noticing me. You're not doing anything. You cannot be in isolation of anything that's sensible and expect people to come to you. So thank you for that inspiring one there, Mr. D. So let's go on about the values
okay.
that came out and the new Tipo 2.0 is the person we now see that everybody wants to associate with.
Mm. Another one, and you actually touched on this just now, is that feeling of nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody owes Dipo Adeshida anything. I do not expect anybody to do anything for me. I don't expect any any help. Let me put it that way. Now, it doesn't mean that if it is offered, I won't take it, or I may not consider it. But I do not posture in a way that Joe, this thing I cannot do it. Um, and just a few examples. So if an event is for 2 p.m. and I know that it's going to take me because of whatever 2 hours to get there, then I will leave wherever I am at 4 hours to the time, so that early enough, because I don't want anybody creating an excuse or an exception for me. No, I do not. I do not need anybody to say, "Oh, we are considering you because of." No, um, in my mind, there is no room for dropping the ball for any reason whatsoever. None at all. So, in that case, um, every evaluation is done based on, in my opinion, merit. We got it because we worked for it, and we didn't get it because we didn't work hard enough for it. We didn't get it, we go back to the drawing board, we figure it out. If we need to work extra hours, we do that. If we need to, we do that. If we need to spend 3 weeks on an application to perfect it, we do that. Not on account of, or because we have a disadvantage. No, there's no disadvantage anywhere. It's a level playing field, like everybody else. We will fight it out like everybody else. If we do not get it, we will not blame anybody. We will look inward, fix it, and go back out there and fight. That for me has been a key lesson. It's been a very, very major lesson for me that you cannot blame anybody for the outcome of your life. If you do not like it is, you do something about it. You give thanks to God. But if you do not like it, you do something about it. Do anything.
Mm.
that for me is very key. Is
mm,
extremely key.
mm,
Um, and the is that we have a we all have opportunities to ourselves in places that make us
mm,
uncomfortable. I think that has given uh so for example in church I teach ages 6 to 9 and very precocious. They will ask you all kinds of questions, like, uncle, what's wrong with you? I mean, someone can even imitate you and all that. I love being with those children because they keep you grounded. They can ask you any question. They can ask you, uncle, what this in 1 minute, and the next minute they want to take your cane and run away. Be able to deal with
mhm,
all as as if there's nothing wrong. You need to be able to handle curveballs. You need to be able to integrate into society normally. There's no special, you know, attention that one needs. There, there might be other people who need that, but I'm just giving you this that this is sort of giving me the drive to move. The very first job that I got in Lagos at an ad agency, they had told me to they had told me to come at 8 a.m. for the theater. And as I got there that day, I have to laugh because when I got there that the oops, am I still the only one here? Okay. When I got there that day, the room I was supposed to use for my test was they were using it for I think a photography session or so. And you won't believe what happened. I got there at 8 a.m. So I was there 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. When people were leaving around, they were like, "Oh, you're still here?" Yes. That's 5 p.m. that I test. I was sorry, it was at 4 p.m., not 5 p.m., 4 p.m. I started my test at 4 p.m. Somebody said, "Oh, you're still here." I said, "Yes, I'm still here." And I started my test at 4 p.m. and I finished at 7 p.m., which was like a 2 hour journey from the place. Well, as God will have it, I got the job. Um, but as for me, it was like I came here to get a job. If it takes sitting here for 8 hours, we will sit now. And we sat down, we did what we needed to do. Um, so for things, it's not to throw a tantrum out to deal with it. This is what it deal with it, get what you want, move on. And sitting in the place for 8 hours was not difficult. I was lying down on a bed for almost 6 months,
mm, mm,
waiting for 8 hours.
mm. Sitting for 8 hours was a joke. Hmm. Mm. Was it sitting for 8 hours wasn't
So
difficult because I was lying down. That's deep. I want to put that inside. I want you to scroll across the screen because I was lying down. There's something inside that point. I'm going to make it short. Lying down on my back for 6 months. So
mm,
the tougher the adversity, the stronger you are. Mm, mm,
yeah.
mm, mm. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Mm. So the tougher the adversities, permit my typos, my good friends. I'm writing as I'm teasing out the lessons. So, Mr. Dipo, what are the other? I have two more questions for you, and then we round this up. What are the
Okay.
other? The tougher the adversities, the stronger the lab, the laboratory, or the gym, the lab
Mm.
or the gym. That means the adversity is a stronger test. Is a crucible, is the hidden place where men are made. That is the cave of Adullam in quotes. Mm. All right. So the adversity is a
Mm.
laboratory of life and destiny. So my other point to you is: are there any other lessons you see generally? You're also a chief operating officer. Are there any other lessons you see generally that people need to imbibe? And from where you stand as one who has been to the edge of the world, are there some things that you would like people to learn or to groom themselves with, if you get what I'm saying, so that they are able to, create the kind of life they want for themselves?
Okay, thank you for that question. Um, and I'll ask that there
Mr. Dipo,
is
1 minute.
worth
Your internet
pursuing.
has become more choppy. Your
Okay,
internet has become more choppy.
can I switch phone here? Let me try
Okay, let's,
that.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. We'll
let
pause.
me
We'll
try.
pause for you to switch. Just switch it and let's see what happens. You can stay in the studio and then switch it. Yeah, Mr. Dipo is switching his internet device, and while he's switching his internet device, we want to see whether we will have better signal. It's brought you into the middle. Okay, so this is better actually, but please leave. Thank you, sir. All right. Then we need to also laterally invert your background, sir. You need to go to settings and then laterally invert the background, right? So, my good friends that are listening to me, you have been in the past few minutes listening to Mr. Dipo Adeshida, remarkable intellectual writer, and quintessential academician. I had the rare honor and privilege of sitting with him in his office in Lagos, Nigeria. And one of the things he told me is that make no mistake, there's nothing soft about me. Forget the exterior you're looking at, everything is as hard as it should be. Now, that for me speaks to a man who's taking full responsibility of what he's gone through. The tougher the adversities you go through in life, the more ready you are to be a different person. You cannot give up. You cannot allow yourself to wallow in pity party. You can't allow people give you the comfort of failure. You can't allow that essence around you. You have been fearfully and wonderfully made, and this is not motivational speaking. This is core, hardcore reality. The story is a miracle you're watching right in front of you there. You can see Mr. Deepo. I had to cough there. And you can see what he has made of himself. I'm totally excited to be in his corner this evening and bringing to you, before I start saying from Kairos FM or from Joking FM, whatever you want to call it. I'm excited to bring Mr. Dipper to you live at home. Please make comments about points that strike you the more. Mr. Dipper, you want to go to settings or this, to go to and laterally invert the background. I think if you go to settings or you click under the image, no, settings, go to settings, and when you get to settings, you go to virtual background, and then when you get to virtual background, it allows you to, there's something around toggling. Uh, there's something you switch off on a mirror camera. Once you should go under video, mirror camera, under settings. Yeah, that's it. That's it. You can unmute now. So go on, Mr. Deepo.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to change my. I had suspected that the internet wasn't strong enough, so
Yeah.
I'm using another device now.
All right.
Yes. Okay, so we're talking about
The
a
lessons.
few more lessons.
Yeah, and what you see in people generally, that if people just imbibe these two lessons, all of their lives will change. Just these two lessons, all of their lives will change.
Okay. Um. Sorry. So I would say this, that if you if you consider your your journey as unique, as something that is peculiar to you,
Mm.
and something that God is. I just have to bring God into this. There's just no way that this conversation will end
Mhm,
without me talking about God. There's
mhm,
no way,
mhm, mhm,
because that would be completely delusional of me to assume that this whole journey happened by pure wits.
mm,
Um, one thing I can say clearly is that the more we yield ourselves to knowing that every part of our journey is a product of how open we are to changes, how open we are to making adjustments, how open we are to taking correction. Because the Bible says there's a way that seemeth right to a man, but the end of it is destruction. How open
mm,
we are to taking correction. That
mm,
principle for me is what delivers success. Because many times we think that we cannot be in the wrong. We think that we have done everything correctly, and this cuts across career, cuts across marriage, cuts across finances, cuts across our various types of relationships, right? Like we feel that we can never be in the wrong, and there is always room for improvement. No matter what state in life we are, there is always room for us to improve a process, for us to improve an outcome,
mm,
right? So that for me is one thing that I would say, that one one's mind, my mind always has to be open to the thought of what is next. What is it that I don't know that I need to learn? What is it that I
mm,
may feel overly confident about today that can actually change? And if that basis changes, everything that I believe about it will change as well.
mm,
That for me is an important factor for that. I may hold the position as being sacrosanct, but if the facts about that
mm,
position change, I need to be open-minded enough to reconsider what I believe about it and make the necessary adjustments. That for me is key.
mm,
Number one. Because you said two things, I'll just summarize the second one. The
mm,
second one is this: never lose optimism, no matter what
mm,
happens. Everything will be okay, no matter
mm,
what. In fact, I have to say this one with as much pidgin as I can muster. Everything will be okay. Everything is going to be fine. Sometimes life can rile us up, make it look as if that bill is not paid, the heavens are going to collapse, and make it feel as uh, if this person is not in my life, I'm not going to make any progress. If I lose this thing, my life is over. But nah, I've come to discover that there's always something to look forward to. There's always something to look forward to. Unless that person finally gives up their breath, and you know that connection they have with this earth is finally gone. So that last moment, hope hope is still very much available. There is no situation that cannot rebound. None.
mm,
Those are my principles. Those are the things that in thinking back, I observe as sort of the nuggets along the way that God has shown me about life. That if you stay optimistic, you'll be fine.
Mm, mm. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such interesting conversations. Viewers, everyone watching us, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, TikTok did not go live today for certain technical reasons. I'd like to hear from you feedbacks. Please put it in the chat. What points stood out for you? Do you have any questions? Let's just take that in a minute before we round up. I'll ask Mr. Deeper to pray with us. I believe in prayer. He believes in prayer. He's told you about the God factor. Although there's some twitching sound from your audio, Mr. Deeper, there's some twitching sound from your audio.
Yes,
So I
there
think
is.
it's the
I don't
environment.
know why.
No, no, that must be the device.
Okay,
But
sorry.
thankfully, we're almost at the end. Thankfully, we're almost at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, any feedback, any point that stood out for you, please put that in the chat. And then questions. Oh, okay. Let me add Mr. Deeper again. Questions, feedbacks. What do you think? How has this conversation made it all better for you? What are the action points you're going to take? And then we will pray in just 1 minute. For me, three things stand out. Bad times always happen, but God is far more faithful if we don't give up. We give God the opportunity to do what only God can do. The second thing that stands out for me is that what you've gone through is not an excuse not to be excellent. And the help will come, but be the person that is helpable. There's always a Professor Larutini somewhere in your journey. They will arrive. With the right perspective, you'll attract them.
Oh,
Number three, up your game on the inside, and life begins to work a certain way. Are there people that are going to hate you? Yes. Are there people that are going to attack you? Yes. Some of your closest friends and family will not accept your greatness. Some will see you as enfant terrible, but there's a Mr. Denny somewhere. Two kinds of strange helpers. One will sit through the night at the hospital bed when you are coming back to hell without being paid. She has her own family and children. And she's gone to be with the Lord now. She's not with us anymore. The things you do today will one day become story. This competition and rivalry. There are people that must be the most shiny person in the room. We don't need it. You heard Mr. Deepo say there's room for everyone to shine. At the end of the day, be good, be kind. Don't let over people. Walk away from anything that will make you be in the zone of negativity. Life is too short. Look, the frail nature of life, he saw it on the hospital bed. All these things stood out for me in an unusual way. And things look bad, they will always rebound. And there's always something to look forward to in life. Nothing is hopeless. There's no situation that cannot rebound. Never say never. Desire is the root of all success. Barack Obama was a vision. 8 years down the line, Mr. Dippo was in the room with Barack Obama. Those are my own takeaways. These 2 hours and a half minutes has been the best and the most profound. I apologize again, we started late. My name is Coach David Adeoye Abodrin. I did introduce myself at the beginning deliberately. I'm a life coach and a strategist, and a special type of strategist that looks into the future. I sit at the intersection of cybersecurity, technology, and human behavior, and I'm a student of life, a voracious learner. I'm totally humble to learn. I'm totally humble to be corrected. I'm totally humble to know I'm just a small part of the universe. At the same time, I'm the universe. Not only am I a drop in the ocean, I'm also the ocean. Having these two mindsets and being able to adjust when necessary is the hope of greatness. I'm excited to be your host for this evening, and thank you for joining us. I've not seen any questions, I've not seen any feedbacks. Hopefully, our people haven't slept off. I will right now say, Mr. Deepo, please share a word of prayer with us because there's a young man or woman who's going through a tough time. There's a young boy on the hospital bed. There's a woman who's just taking a loan that's gone very bad. There's a housewife who's going through a very tough time. There's a husband who doesn't know where dinner tonight is coming from or lunch tomorrow morning is coming from. There's a pastor who has a church that is not growing. There's an apostle somewhere in the jungle who just has few minutes to listen to the internet and stumbles on our broadcast. Please, what's your last word and prayer for us? Because there's a grace. Paul the apostle said, um, from the comfort that we have been comforted, we comfort others. He said, I will not have you ignorant of the troubles that came upon us in the region of Asia, how we were pressed beyond measure, so that we despaired of life. We were pressed on no pressure. We had pressures all around us to the point that we gave up. He said, but blessed be God who delivered us. He said, these things happened so that we will not have confidence in ourselves, but in God who raises from the dead. He said, therefore, blessed be God who delivered us, who will continue to deliver us. When someone has gone through a deliverance in your neighborhood and you celebrate and they pray for you, you can tap into the grace of same. You have a grace of a rebound, a grace of excellence out of difficulty. So if there's anybody listening to me, your own apostle is here. A man who has been through the fire and God brought him out. I would say, Mr. Deepo, just the last word, and then pray for us, especially around turning the tide and becoming great after strong adversity. And thank you for coming. You know, I celebrate you deeply. And may the Lord be with you and your family. May He cause His grace to shine upon you. But you are the one praying, and let me be the one to receive grace.
Father, thank you for
Amen.
this opportunity to share together this evening. Thank you
Amen.
for Dr. Aboduri and this platform. Thank you for the technology. Thank you for the people who have attended. Thank you for stumble on this at in time. That's just the sustained power, even long after his death, that a thrown at it came back to life. This session this evening will retain this power and this,
Amen.
and that whenever it is listened to or revisited, the essence of our conversation this evening will be released into the hearer in
Amen.
Jesus' name. At a certain point in their life, how do I recover from this that might be facing a debilitating circumstance, which might be medical, financial, marital, relational, of whatever dimension, that the grace that you have made available rebounds,
Mm.
as we have called it,
Mm.
will be released onto such a person.
Amen.
That
Amen.
as Paul prayed in his letters, that same power which was at work in Christ Jesus that brought him back from the dead, every prayer of this message, that you
Amen.
cause dead things to spring back to life, where things
Amen.
appear to be hopeless, you will give people a reason to be
Amen.
hopeful and to believe again in
Amen.
Jesus' name. And that on a platform like this, in a day, hear the testimony as well, encouraging other people to believe that there is that cannot be rebounded.
Amen.
Father, we give you thanks for all that you have done for us.
Amen.
Let your name be glorified in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Mr. Deepo, God bless you. May He make His face shine upon you. Your children's children are blessed. Your generation is blessed. And
Amen.
greater grace in Jesus' name. Two more requests. Two more
Amen.
requests. This we have a lot to do together to inspire our generation, our world. And I'll be working with you on a few projects. One of them are your books, not one. And I will ensure that you write those books. By the way, I owe you something in that line. Number two, I'm going to give you all the hits possible. I know you're a perfectionist. I'll not allow you to use that perfection thing to stop the books from going. And number two is that
What's
a
the
lot.
second one?
Okay, the second one is a lot of people need encouragement and prayer. A lot of people need exhortation,
Okay.
encouragement, hope, and imagination. I'll be arranging those imagination labs and hope labs, and it's going to come in different
Okay.
formats. And I want us to work together on it. You are an embodiment of hope, and my own assignment is to facilitate, to tease out hope and imagination, to facilitate. There are many topics inside what we say today. I can hear team building. I can hear all sorts. I can hear operational excellence. I am a mind that listens, and I'm a student for life. I read people. Many people can read books, but they can listen to a 1 hour podcast like this. We will be working together on
Yeah.
tangible results. How do you move a team from A to B? How do you move your life from A to there are those kind of conversations. I'm almost tempted to say we are coming back next Wednesday again, but until we discuss it behind the scenes. And I'll tell you why. There are people that don't know how to do these things. They may look simple, but this one is too packed together. And so, therefore, that's my second assignment. And I'm asking openly because I'm going to be calling you right after the show. I appreciate you. You are a brother. You are a brother from another mother. And I wished I met you years back so that we can talk. We can fellowship more in positivity and good energy. May the Lord keep you. May He make His face shine upon you. May you
Amen.
be established in grace and favor. May the heavens
Amen.
open up over you and your children's children. God bless you,
Amen.
man of God. I
Thank
celebrate
you.
grace in your life. Stay
Thank
blessed. To
you.
my viewers and my friends on the call, please help me do a word under the chat. Please go to Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube. We are there. Help me put a word under the place. Help me say something that you learned. A shout out to Mr. Deepo. Go follow him. You need to be inspired. May the Lord bless you all. Thank you, Mr. Deepo. We're going offline now and back into the studio. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. You are blessed and highly favored. God bless you. Bye. See you guys shortly. Bye.